Hello friends, good evening everybody. Today I am here to discuss one of the basic topics in quantitative aptitude, that is percentages. Now, I want to highlight one important point here in the beginning itself. If you want to be really good at quantitative aptitude, you need to master 4 basic areas. And what are those 4 basic areas? I will let you know now. The first out of those 4 basic areas is percentages. Percentages. And second one is ratio and proportion. Ratio and proportion. The third one is averages. And the fourth one is framing equations. Framing equations. You may be wondering what is this fourth one. You might have heard about all the first 3, but you may be wondering what is the last one. I will tell you why the last one is important. You take any problem in quantitative aptitude, the conditions given will not be in logical order. The conditions will be always in jumbled up manner. And to solve the problem, the first thing we need to do is we have to arrange the conditions in the logical order. And after arranging the conditions in the logical order, you need to put it in the form of an equation. So if you are able to do that, you can solve the problem as fast as possible. So your ability to solve the problem fast will depend upon how fast you will be able to put the conditions in the logical order. And after putting them in the logical order, how fast you put it in the form of an equation. So that is also one of the important technique that is required for a student to be successful in quantitative aptitude. So these are the 4 basic areas you need to master: percentages, ratio and proportion, averages, and framing equations. If you are good at these 4 areas, you will automatically master the other areas in quantitative aptitude. And this is SSC CGL. You take any competitive exam. For that matter, GATE exam or CRT or bank POs, you take any exam where aptitude is tested, then you need to master these areas. Okay? Now, let us start with percentages. What is percent? Percent. Per is for. Cent is 100. So per is for, cent is 100, percent. And we can write percentages in 3 formats. Now, this is the standard format of writing a percentage. We all know it. Then you can, what is the meaning of this 20%? 20% means 20 out of every 100. 20 out of every 100, that is the meaning. And you can also write percentages in decimals. You can represent a percentage in decimals as well. That is 0.2. So we can write percentages in 3 formats. This is a standard format of writing a percentage. And its meaning is 20 out of every 100. So 20 by 100. And you can also write it in decimals, 0.2. Okay? Right. Now, before we get into problems, I would like to tell you 4 basic calculations in percentages. Then we move on to some of the questions that have already appeared in SSC CGL. Okay, what are those 4 basic calculations? Let us start now. Okay, right. Now, suppose my score in the first test is 600. My score in the first test is 600. And my score in the second test is 750, then what is the increase percentage in my score? So this is one of the basic calculations in percentages. Score in the first test is 600, score in the second test is 750. So what is the increase percent in my score? Or you can say the score in the second test is what percent more when compared to score in the first test. So you can call it as increase percent, or you can also call it as more percent. And how to do this calculation? This forms one of the very basic calculations in percentages. So let us do the calculation. increase percent. So increase percent. Now, what should be the denominator and what should be the numerator? Now, increase is happening over what? Increase is happening over 600. So the 600 should be the denominator. And how much is the increase? Increase is 150 because 600 has become 750. So increase is 150 into 100. So that becomes 25%. So my score in the second test increased by 25%. Now here, most of the students get confused about what should be the numerator and what should be the denominator. Now I tell you a simple technique to decide which one is numerator and which one is denominator. The number with which comparison is done is always the denominator. जिस नंबर से कंपैरिजन होता है वो नंबर हमेशा डिनोमिनेटर होता है परसेंटेज कैलकुलेशन में. Okay, now see here, the increase is the score in the second test has become 750. It has increased by 150. When compared to what? The score has increased when compared to what? When compared to 600. So the comparison is done with 600. So 600 should be the denominator. Then what should be the numerator? We are calculating increase percent. So when you calculate increase percent, how much is the increase? That should be the numerator. And to convert a fraction into percentage, to convert any fraction into percentage, we have to multiply that fraction with 100. So into 100. That gives you the percentage. And you can also call this increase percent as more percent. You can also call it as more percent. Score in the second test is what percentage more when compared to score in the first test. So when compared to score in the first test, that means the comparison is done with score in the first test, which is 600. Then more percent, 600. Then more percent. Score in the second test is how much more? That we have to write in the numerator. So 150 into 100, 25%. So this is the calculation. You can call it as increase percent or you can also call it as more percent. Okay, this is one of the very basic calculations in percentages. And if you need, I can also give you a formula for this. And that formula is increase percent or more percent equal to difference by smaller number. Difference by smaller number into 100. You can take this formula to calculate increase percent or more percent. You can use it for both. Now, why the denominator is smaller number? Because increase always happens over the smaller number. Okay? And to convert a fraction into percentage, into 100. So this is increase percent or more percent. Now, similarly, we will also see how to calculate decrease percent. Okay? Now, decrease percent. How to calculate decrease percent? Now, my score in the first test is 800 and my score in the second test is 640. What is the decrease percentage? If this is the question. Now, the score is decreasing when compared to what? When compared to my score in the first test. My score is decreasing when compared to my score in the first test. So, comparison is done with my score in the first test. That means the comparison is done with 800. So 800 is the denominator. I already told you the number with which comparison is done is always the denominator. जिस number से comparison होता है वो number हमेशा denominator होता है. Okay? Right. So यहाँ पे comparison 800 से हो रहा है. So 800 is the denominator. Then what should be the numerator? We are calculating decrease percent. When we are calculating decrease percent, how much is the decrease will become the numerator. And here the decrease is 160. So 160 will be the numerator. And to convert a fraction into percentage, into 100. So into 100. So that gives you 20%. So my score is decreasing by 20% in the second test. And this decrease percent, you can also call it as less percent. You can also call it as less percent. My score in the second test is how much less, what percentage less when compared to my score in the first test. Same calculation. Comparison is done with 800. So denominator is 800. And my score is how much less? 160 less. So 160 should be written in the numerator. And to convert a fraction into percentage, into 100. So that gives you 20%. So this is increase percent or and decrease percent. And here also I can give you a formula. And that formula is decrease percent. Decrease percent or less percent. The formula is difference. Difference by larger number. Difference by larger number into 100. You can use this formula. Difference by larger number into 100. And why the denominator is larger number? Because the decrease always happens over the larger number. So this is the formula. If you want, you can use the formula as well. But concept is more important than formula. Okay? If you use the formula after knowing the concept, there is nothing wrong in it. But if you use the formula without knowing the concept, then that can spell trouble for you. Okay? Right. Now, one more calculation. One more calculation. This is also a basic calculation. And that is, generally students get confused about these two phrases. Increased to and increased by. Student gets confused about these two phrases. Increased to, increased by. Now, I tell you the difference between increased to and increased by. Suppose if I make a statement, my present salary is 6,000 rupees. My present salary is 6,000 rupees. If it is increased to, if it is increased to, if it is increased to 250%, if it is increased to 250%, what is my new salary? What is my new salary? If this is the question. If it is increased to 250%, what is my new salary? If this is the question, then 6,000 plus increase is equal to 250% of 6,000. So this is the meaning. That means the new salary, when increased to is given, that means the new figure is 250% of the original. That is the meaning. Okay? So 250% of the original. And what is my original salary? 6,000 plus increase. How much is the increase? Let us put it on hold. Then what is the new number? New number is 250% of the original. So whenever increase to is given, that means the final number is 250%. So here the final number is 250% of 6,000. So this is the meaning of increase to. Now, instead of increased to, if I give you increased by. Increased by 250%. If I use this terminology, instead of increased to, if I say increased by 250%, then it is 6,000 plus 250% of 6,000. And if you calculate this, you will get the new number. That means when increased by is given, this 250% is not the final number. This 250% is the increased part. So this increased part is 250%. When increased to is given, that means 250% is the final number. When the phrase increased to is given, after increased to, whatever percentage is given, that is the final number. But when increased by is given, then after increased by, whatever percentage is given, that is not the final number, friends. That is the increased part. That means increase itself is 250%. So my present salary is 6,000 and increase in my salary is 250%. And if you do this calculation, then you will get the final answer, final number. So this is the difference between increased to and increased by. So there is no need to get confused. After increased to, whatever percentage you get, that is the final number. Then if increased by is used, after increased by, whatever percentage you get, that is not the final number, that is purely the increased part. If you add that increased part to original number, only then you will get the final number. So these are the basic calculations that we need to keep in mind. Now let us get into the questions and solve some of the questions that have appeared in Staff Selection Commission, SSC CGL. Okay, right. Right. Now, look at this question. The ratio of two numbers is 4:5. When the first is increased by 20% and the second is decreased by 20%, then the ratio of the resulting numbers is, so actual numbers are not given, only ratio is given. And what is the ratio? 4:5. So let us assume the numbers. Actual numbers are not given, only the ratio is given. So what we have to do? We have to assume the numbers. So let numbers be 400 and 500. You can take any pair of numbers, your wish, but you have to maintain the ratio. You can take 40, 50, you can take 4 and 5, or you can take 400, 500, any pair of numbers, but the ratio must be maintained. So I take 400 and 500. So first number is 400 and second number is 500. Now, first number is increased by 20% and the second number is decreased by 20%. Then what is the ratio of the new numbers? That is the question. So I will try to write down the ratio directly. Now, ratio of new numbers, or I write new ratio. New ratio. Now, what is the first number in the new ratio? 120% of 400. So this is the first term in the new ratio. And what is the second term in the new ratio? 80% of 500. So this is the first term in the new ratio and this is the second term in the new ratio. Now why do we write 120% and why do we write 80%? I tell you, when a number is increased by 20%, so original number is always considered as 100%. Original number is always taken as 100%. Now it is increased by 20%. That means plus 20%. So it becomes how much? 120%. So that is what I have written. The first term is 120% of original. That is 120% of 400. Then how is this 80%? Again, original is always 100%. And it is clearly given second number is decreased by 20%. So 100% minus 20% will become how much? 80%. And that's why I have written 80% of original, which is 80% of 500. And this gives what is the ratio. And friends, no need to do the calculations. 120 by 100 into 400 cancellations, 80 by 100 into 500 cancellations, that is not required. You can do like this. 120 by 100 into 400, 80 by 100 into 500. Okay. Now, this 100 gets cancelled because this is ratio. So, 100 gets cancelled. These two zeros gets cancelled. Then 43 times, 42 times. Okay. So, 2 times, 2 1 time. So, what remains? 3 into 2, 6. What remains this side? 1 into 5, 5. So what is the ratio of the resulting numbers? We can say the ratio of the resulting numbers is 6:5. Okay. So remember, in this problem, actual numbers are not given. We are given only the ratio. And when only ratio is given, we need to assume any pair of numbers, but the ratio must be 4:5. So we have taken 400 and 500, and then we wrote the new ratio. Okay, come on, let us see the next problem. Right. So this is the next question. Right. Now, this is the next question. If the numerator of a fraction is increased by 20% and the denominator is decreased by 5%, the value of the new fraction becomes 5/2. What is the original fraction? So we are asked to find the original fraction, and is increasing the numerator and decreasing the denominator, then the new fraction would be 5/2. Then what is the original fraction? After making the changes, the new fraction is 5/2. So what is the original fraction? So let us assume the original fraction. So I write here, let original fraction equal to x by y. Okay, then what is the new fraction? What is the new fraction? New fraction. Now, what is the new numerator? Numerator is increased by 20%. So the new numerator is 120% of x. So this is the new numerator. When original numerator is x, then automatically the new numerator is 120% of x, because the numerator is increased by 20%. Then what is the new denominator? The denominator is decreased by 5%. So the new denominator is 95% of y. So this is the new fraction. This is the new fraction. We got the new fraction. But in the problem, the new fraction is clearly given as 5/2. So I substitute 5/2 on the left side. I substitute 5/2 on the left side. Now, here, this percentage gets cancelled. Then you get 120x by 95. Percentage, you need not write by 100. Even if you write by 100, automatically it gets cancelled. So percentage here get cancelled. So it becomes 120x by 95y. And we are asked to find what is the original fraction. That means we are supposed to write x by y. So x by y equal to cross multiplication 5 into 95 by 2 into 120. So 5 into 95 by 2 into 120. Okay, so this gives you what is the original fraction. So 524 times 5 1 times. Okay, so this will become 95 by 48. 95 by 48. So 95 by 48. So this is the new fraction. So what we have done here, the new numerator is 120% of x, because numerator is increased by 20%. The new denominator is 95% of y, because the original denominator is decreased by 5%. So 120% of x divided by 95% of y. And we equate this with 5/2. After that, it's only a matter of calculations. And when you do the calculations, you get the original fraction. And the original fraction x by y is equal to 95 by 48. Okay, come on, let us go for the next question. Right. Now here, if A's income is 50% less than B's income, then B's income is what percent more than that of A? Now generally, some of the students have a tendency of taking the answer as 50%. Now when A is 50% less, automatically B will be 50% more. This is the line of thinking some of the students adopt. But I say this line of thinking is very much wrong. I tell you why it is wrong. Now in this problem, actual values are not given. Data is given only in percentages. Actual figures are not given. So we need to go for assumptions. Now, A's income is 50% less than that of B. That means unless you know B's income, you cannot write A's income. So I start with B's income. So let B equal to 100 rupees. B means B's income. You need to understand. Okay. So let B's income be 100 rupees. Then what would be A's income? Then A's income. A's income would be how much? It's clearly given. A's income is 50% less than that of B. So if B is 100, then automatically A would become 50 rupees. And the question is, B is what percentage more when compared to A? That is the question. See here. Then B's income is what percent more than that of A? And we already discussed how to calculate more percent. So let us do that calculation here. More percent. Now, B is more. B's income is more when compared to what? B's income is more when compared to A's income. That means the comparison is done with A's income. So the denominator must be A's income, 50. A's income is 50. Then what you should write in the numerator? If you are calculating more percent, how much more you have to write in the numerator? Now tell me B's income is how much more? 50 rupees more. So that 50 you have to write in the numerator. And to convert a fraction into percentage, you have to multiply that fraction with 100. So into 100. So that gives you 100%. Then we can say B's income is 100% more than A's income. Okay? Now, I also tell you why we cannot take the answer as 50%. I told you some of you will think that if A is 50% less, then B is 50% more. Now I tell you why you can't take that as the answer. Now, A is 50% less than B. That means the comparison is done with B. Then in the next statement, B is what percent more than A. So in the second statement, the comparison is not with B, the comparison is done with A. And therefore, we cannot take the answer as 50%. So here the answer is 100%. And if you wish, you can also use the formula that I gave you. What is the formula I gave you for more percent? Difference by smaller number into 100. And you can see the difference is 50 by smaller number. Smaller number is 50 into 100 will give you more percent. Okay? Come on. Let us get into one more question which is similar to this. This question. A's income is 10% more than B's income. By how much percent is B's income less than that of A? Similar question, but instead of more, he is asking us less percentage. That is the only difference. Okay, once again, we go for assumptions. A's income is 10% more than B's income. That means, unless we know B's income, we cannot write what is A's income. So I start with B's income. So let B equal to 100 rupees. Let B equal to 100 rupees. Then A would be how much? Then A would be 10% more. That means 110 rupees. So if you assume B as 100, then A will be 110 rupees. Then what is the question? By how much percent is B's income less than that of A? So less percent. Less percent. Now, B is less when compared to what? B's income is less when compared to what? When compared to A's income. So the comparison is done with A's income. So this will be the denominator. Then what should be the numerator? We are calculating less percent. And when we are calculating less percent, how much less we should write in the numerator? And B is how much less? 10 less. So I write 10 in the numerator. And to convert this into percentage, I multiply with 100. And when you do this calculation, you will get 91 by 11%. Then I say B's income is 91 by 11% less when compared to A's income. Okay? Or else you can also use the formula. What is the formula I gave you for less percent? Difference by larger number into 100. Now, Difference between these two is 10 by larger number. What is the larger number? Larger number out of these two is 110. So difference by larger number into 100. You get the answer. Okay? Right. Now, again, we go for the next question. This is the next question. The difference of two numbers is 45% of their sum. Then the ratio of the larger number to the smaller number is dash. Now, a condition is given. Difference between two numbers will be equal to 45% of their sum. But what are those two numbers? That is not mentioned. So let us start the problem by assuming those two numbers. Let those two numbers be A and B. That is my assumption. So I assume the two numbers as A and B. Then what is the first condition? What is the condition? There is only one condition given. And what is that condition? Difference of two numbers. So difference of two numbers is A minus B. And it is equal to, the difference of two numbers is equal to what? 45% of their sum. So it is equal to 45% of their sum. And sum is written as A plus B. Okay, so this is the condition given. And I put the condition in the form of an equation. Now just simplify this. You get what is the ratio of the larger number to the smaller number. So let us simplify. So A minus B. 45% is 45 by 100. When simplified, it becomes 9 by 20 into A plus B. Then cross multiplication, 20A minus 20B equal to 9A plus 9B. Then what do you get? Then next, 11A equal to 29B. 11A equal to 29B. 11A equal to 29B. Therefore, A by B is 29 by 11. And what is the question? We'll find the ratio of the larger number to the smaller number. So first we have to write the larger number and then the smaller number. Ratio of larger number to smaller number. So incidentally, the first number itself is larger. So we can say the ratio of larger number to the smaller number. See, this is not the original values. Okay, this is only the ratio. Okay, because all these calculations depends on our assumption. Okay, so don't think that these are the original values. These are only the terms of the ratio. So what is the ratio of larger number to the smaller number? 29 is to 11. So we can take our answer as 29 is to 11. Okay, right. Next question. This question might have appeared in all the aptitude exams that have been conducted so far in 1 year or the other. Now, in a quarterly examination, a student scored 30% marks and failed by 12 marks. In the same examination, another student secured 40% marks and got 28 marks more than minimum marks. The maximum marks in the exam is, maximum marks means the exam is conducted for how many marks? That we call it as maximum. Okay, so for how many marks the exam was conducted? That is the question. Okay, now whatever data that is given in the problem, I represent it with the help of a line diagram. Okay, now let us call these two students as A and B. So one is A, other one is B, and A scored 30%. So A scored 30%. B scored 40%. So B scored 40%. And I take this point as pass mark, P. P means pass mark. Okay. So A scored 30% and is failing the exam. And therefore, he is this side of the pass mark. And B scored 40% and he is getting passed in the examination. And therefore, B is on this side of the pass mark. Failed students are this side of the pass mark. Passed students are this side of the pass mark. Okay. Now, A is failing the exam by how many marks? 12 marks. After scoring 30%, is failing the exam by 12 marks. That means A is falling short by 12 marks. So this gap between A and P is represented by 12 marks. Because it is clearly given A fails by 12 marks. So the difference between A and this pass mark is represented by 12. Then B. B scores 40% and got 28 marks more than the minimum marks to pass. So B is getting 40%, and by scoring 40%, he is getting 28 more than the pass mark. B score is 28 more than the pass mark. That means the difference between pass mark and B score, that means this gap is represented by 28. Okay? Now, tell me what is the difference between A score and B score in terms of percentage. In terms of percentage, what is the difference between A score and B score? You can clearly see A score is 30% and B score is 40%. So the difference is 10%. The difference is 10%. But if you look at the difference in terms of marks, अगर आप difference marks के terms पे देखते हैं तो कितना difference है A और B के बीच में? Now the difference from here to here is 12 and the difference from here to here is 28. That means if you look at the difference in terms of scores, the difference between A and B is 40. यहाँ से यहाँ तक 12 marks और यहाँ से यहाँ तक 28 marks. So totally what is the difference? The difference is 12 plus 28. The difference between A and B is 40. So 10% is equal to 40 marks. This is what we observe. And the question is, find the maximum marks. Maximum marks in the sense 100%. So if 10% is 40, 100% is how much? This is the question. When 10% is equal to 40, 100% is how much? Now, no need to do any calculations here. You can do the vertical comparison. Now, this is becoming 10 times. When the left side becomes 10 times, automatically the right side will also become 10 times, and 10 times of 40 is 400. 400. Then I can say the exam is conducted for 400 marks. That is, the maximum marks in the exam is 400. So that is the question. We are only asked to find the maximum marks in the exam. So maximum marks in the exam is 400. Now suppose in this question, instead of maximum marks, if you are asked to find what are the minimum marks required to pass the exam, if that is the question, what are the minimum marks required to pass the exam? That means what are the pass marks? If that is the question, then the first thing we need to do is to find out maximum marks. पहले maximum marks find out करना चाहिए. उसके बाद में हम pass marks find out कर सकते हैं. So we already got the maximum marks. Then how do we calculate pass marks? Very simple. Now A got 30% and is falling short by how many marks? 12 marks. That means if you add 12 marks to A score, you get the pass marks. So you can write the pass marks as PM. PM means pass marks. So A score is 30% of 400. A score is how much? 30%. 30% of what? Maximum. So 30% of 400 and is falling short by how many marks? 12 marks. So add 12. Then you will get the pass marks. And 30% of 400 is 120. 120 plus 12, 132. Then I can say pass marks are 132. Or else you can also use B score to find out pass marks. Now B scored 40%. B scored 40% of 300. And he got how many marks more than the pass mark? 28 more than the pass marks. So if you subtract 28 from B score, you will get the pass marks. So minus 28. Then 40% of 400, sorry. So this has to be 400. So 40% of 400 is 160 and 160 minus 28 is 132. So 132. So either you can use A score और यू कैन यूज बी स्कोर टू गेट द पास मार्क्स। अगर आपको ए स्कोर यूज करना है तो 30% को 12 ऐड करना है। अगर आप बी स्कोर यूज करते हैं तो बी स्कोर में से 28 को सब्ट्रैक्ट करना है तो आपको पास मार्क्स मिल जाएगा। ओके, सो दिस इज हाउ यू फाइंड आउट पास मार्क्स। नाउ I would like to add one more point. Suppose if the question is, what is the minimum percentage required to pass the exam? Minimum कितना percentage चाहिए exam pass होने के लिए? If that is the question, then what are you supposed to do? I tell you. If the question is about minimum percentage required to pass the exam, then the first step in the question is to find out maximum marks, which we have already done, 400. After finding the maximum marks, you need to find out pass marks. That also we calculated and it has come down to 132. Then what is the minimum percentage required to pass the exam? So I do the calculation here. Minimum percentage required. Minimum percentage required. We require 132 out of 400. And this we have to calculate in percentage. To pass the exam, we require 132, minimum 132 we require out of 400. And this we have to calculate in terms of percentage. So that gives you the answer. So these two zeros get cancelled. 4 3 times 12, 12, then 4 3 times 12. So you require 33% marks. To pass the exam, the minimum percentage required is 33%. Okay, right. And this question has been asked in many of the competitive exams. Okay, right. Now let us go for the next question. Right. In an examination, 65% of the students passed in mathematics, 48% passed in physics, and 30% passed in both the subjects. How much percent of students failed in both the subjects? Now this question can be easily done using Venn diagrams. Without much calculations, you can easily answer this question if we take the help of Venn diagrams. So I take the help of Venn diagrams here. So there are two subjects, so you get two sets. One set represents maths, another set represents physics. Okay, and these two sets represent passed candidates. Okay, they represent passed candidates. Now, see here, 30% passed in both the subjects. That means this intersection part is represented by 30%. This intersection part is represented by 30% because 30% passed in both the subjects clearly given. Then 65% of the students passed in mathematics. That means this mathematics circle should represent 65%. And out of 65%, 30% is already written here. This complete circle should represent 65%. And out of 65, 30% has already been taken here. So here it should be 35%. So I write 35%. Then physics. 48% passed in physics. That means this complete physics circle should represent 48%. And out of 48%, 30% has already been taken here. So here it should be how much? 18%. 18%. Okay. Now tell me these two circles together represent what percentage? These two circles together represent what percentage? Let us see. 35 plus 30, 65. 65 plus 18, 83. So 83% of the students are within the circle. You can see 35 plus 30, 65. 65 plus 18, 83. So 83% of the students are inside the circles. 83% are inside the circles. Now when 83% are inside the circles, what percent are outside the circles? 100% minus 83%. 100% minus 83%, 17%. So when 83% of the students are inside the circle, it only means 17% of the students are outside the circles. So 17% are outside the circles. And all those who are outside the circles are failed in both the subjects. Okay, if they have passed in at least one subject, then they would have been inside the circle. अगर एक भी subject में pass होते तो वो circle के अंदर होते. But this 17% are outside the circles. It only means they failed in both the subjects. So what is the question? How much percent of students failed in both the subjects? Then I can say 17% of the students failed in both the subjects. Right? Okay. Next question. Right. Next question. Okay, students. Now we will take break for a few minutes and again we come back for few more questions. Right? Thank you. Okay, students, this is the next question. A person gave 20% of his income to the elder son, 30% of the remaining to the younger son, and 10% of the balance he donated to a trust. He is left with rupees 10,080, his income was. Now, this is an example of successive decrease. Okay, now let us see step by step what happens in successive decrease. Now, I take the original, let us do it by the simplest way possible. Now, I assume his income is 100 rupees. I assume the income as 100 rupees. Then he gives 20% of his income to his elder son. So he gives 20 to his elder son, so minus 20. Then the remaining income will become 80 rupees. He gives 20 rupees to his elder son, so I wrote minus 20. Then after giving money to the elder son, how much is left? 80 rupees. Okay? Then 30% of the remaining, it is clearly given, 30% of the remaining to the younger son. So he gives 30% of the remaining to the younger son. So that 30% is not calculated on 100. It is calculated on 80 because it is clearly specified 30% of the remaining. And how much is remaining? 80 is remaining, and out of this 30% is given to younger son. So 30% of 80 is 24 rupees. 30% of 80 is 24 rupees. So he gives 24 rupees to younger son. Then how much is left? 56 rupees is left. Then what is the next step? And 10% of the balance means remaining amount. 10% of the balance he donated to a trust. So out of this balance, 10% is donated to trust. So that 10% is not calculated on original income, it is calculated on the balance remaining. So 56 is remaining. On this, 10% is donated to a trust. So 10% of this 56 is minus 5.6. So how much is left? 50.4 is left. So this is the money left with the person. So if you assume the person's income as 100 rupees, if you assume the person's income as 100 rupees, then after giving it to the elder son, younger son and donating to the trust, he will be left with 50.4. But in the problem, it's clearly given that he is left with 10,080. So what I do? 10,080. So he is left with 10,080 clearly given. So if he is left with 50.4, then his income would be 100. So if he is left with 10,080, what would be his income? This is the question. Okay, now you can see this is becoming 200 times. This is becoming 200 times. So into 200. Into 200. So when this becomes 200 times, this one should also become 200 times. So into 200. And 200 times of 100 is how much? 20,000. Then I can say his income is 20,000. So according to as per our assumptions, he will be left with 50.4. So when the money remaining is 50.4, his income would be 100. So when the money remaining is 10,080, what was his income? That is the question. And as this becomes 200 times, this one will also become 200 times. And 200 times of 100 is 20,000. Okay? So we can say his income is 20,000. And if you wish, you can also do it in one more way. I can tell you one more way. We assume his income as X rupees. So we assume his income as X rupees. Then, I told you this is a problem of successive decrease. Now then he gives 20% of his income to elder son. 20% to elder son. So when he gives 20% to elder son, how much will remain? 80% will remain. So 80% means into 80 by 100. So this much money is remaining after giving to elder son. And out of this, 30% is given to younger son. So when 30% is given to younger son, how much will remain? 70% will remain out of this. Out of this 30% is given, then how much will remain? 70% will remain. So into 70 by 100. Okay? So after giving to the younger son, how much money is remaining? This much is remaining. And out of this, 10% is donated to the trust. When 10% is donated, 90% will remain. So into 90 by 100. So this is the remaining money. So this is the remaining money. This part, this is remaining after giving it to elder son. This is remaining after giving it to younger son. And this is remaining after donating it to the trust. So this is the final money remaining. But the final money remaining is already given. How much is that? 10,080. So I will equate it with 10,080. So x into 80 by 100 into 70 by 100 into 90 by 100 is equal to 10,080, and do these calculations, you get the value of x. So this is traditional style of doing the calculations. But if you do it this way, you can get the answer fast. Just by comparisons, you can get the answer very, very easily. Okay? Right. Now, let us go for the next question. Now, Radha spends 40% of her salary on food, 20% on house rent, 10% on conveyance. If her savings at the end of the month are rupees 1,500, then her salary per month is how much? What is her monthly salary? That is the question. Now, do you understand the difference between the previous problem and this problem? I tell you the difference. Now here, every expenditure, in this problem, every expenditure is directly calculated on income, because the words like remaining, balance are not used here. If you look at the previous problem, you can see 20% of his income is given to elder son. Next, younger son, 30% of the remaining. Then, and 10% of the balance he donated to a trust. So every time a percentage is calculated, that percentage is calculated on the balance amount. Very clearly specified, remaining, balance, such words are used. That means when percentage is calculated, it's always calculated on the balance, and that we call it as successive decrease. But in this question, you don't find words like remaining, balance. It only means all the expenditures, all the percentages are directly calculated on the income. Okay? So that's the difference between this problem and the previous question. Now here, 40% food, 20% house rent, 40 plus 20, 60%, 10% conveyance, 70%. So total expenditure is 70%. You can see I write here 40% plus 20% plus 10%. So her total expenditure is 70% of the income, 70% of income, because all the percentages are directly calculated on income. So expenditure is 70%. When expenditure is 70%, then automatically savings would be 30%. Then if her savings are rupees 1,500, what is her salary? That is the question. So very simple. Her savings are 30%. Expenditure is 70%. So savings are automatically 30%. But savings are already given as 1,500. So 30% is equal to 1,500 rupees. The left side represents savings. The right side also represents savings. And therefore 30% is equal to 1,500. And the question, what is her monthly salary? Monthly salary means 100%. How much? This is the question. And no need to calculate here. You can get the answer by comparisons. If you do horizontal comparison, 30 is becoming 1,500. That means it is becoming 50 times. So when this becomes 50 times, this one will also become 50 times. I am not doing the vertical comparison. I am doing the horizontal comparison. 30 is becoming 1,500, so 50 times. So this one should also become 50 times. And 50 times of 100 is 5,000. So 5,000 rupees. Then I can say her monthly income is 5,000. Or else you can also do the calculations like this. When 30 is giving 1,500, when 30 is giving 1,500, like this. When 30 is giving 1,500, 100 will give how much? 100 will give how much? And that will give you 5,000 rupees as the answer. Okay? Come on. Now we go for the next question. And all these questions that we are doing are previous SSC CGL questions. Okay? Right. Next question. The price of an article is reduced by 25%, but the daily sale of the article is increased by 30%. The net effect on the daily sale receipts is, so price is reduced by 25%, but sales increase. Sales in terms of number of articles sold increased by 30%. So automatically when price decreases, demand increases. We all know it. Okay, these are all market dynamics. So price is reduced by 25%. Then sales increased by 30%. Then what is the effect on the revenue? Is the revenue increasing or decreasing? If it is increasing, increasing by what percentage? If it is decreasing, decreasing by what percentage? That is the question. Okay, right. Now we did this question with a very, very simple approach. Very simple approach. You can do it just orally without putting anything on paper. Let us see how we do it. Now, I assume the price of each article as 10 rupees. Price is 10 rupees per article. And number of articles sold, I assume it as 10 articles. Price is 10 rupees per article. And the number of articles sold, 10. Then what will be the collection for the day? The collection for the day is 100 rupees. This is my assumption. Okay? The price of each article is 10 rupees and the number of articles sold in a day is 10. Then what will be the collection for that day? 100 rupees. This is my assumption. So I simply write 10 into 10. Okay, this I have written just for your understanding. But when you do the calculation, you can simply write like this: 10 into 10, 100 rupees. Okay. Now, price is decreased by 25%. That means earlier the price was 10. Now when it is decreased by 25%, this 10 rupees will become 7.5. Okay, earlier the price was 10 rupees. Now it is decreased by 25%. So 10 rupees will become 7 rupees 50 paise. Then number of articles. Sales increased by 30%. Earlier 10 articles were sold. Now it is increasing by 30%. That means 13 articles are sold. Then what is the revenue? 7.5 into 13. And how much is 7.5 into 13? 13 into 7, 91. And then 6.5. 91 plus 6.5, 97.5. Now you can clearly see. Earlier the collection was 100 rupees for the day. But now the daily collection has come down. Now what is the daily collection now? 97.5. So earlier the collection was 100. Now the daily collection has come down to 97.5. So it clearly shows the daily revenue is decreasing. Decreasing by what percent? 2.5%. So our answer is 2.5% decrease. 100 has become 97.5. So it clearly reflects a decrease of 2.5%. So we take the answer as 2.5% decrease. A very, very simple approach. Okay? Come, let us go for the next question. Next question. A number is first decreased by 10% and then increased by 10%. The number so obtained is 50 less than the original number. What is the original number? So a number is first decreased by 10%. After that, it is increased by 10%. Then the new number is 50 less than the original number. What is the original number? That is the question. Now here, I start the problem by making an assumption. I assume the original number as 100 rupees. So I assume the original number as 100 rupees. See, in percentages, it is always very, very convenient to assume a number as 100. Okay? Now, this is my original number. Then it is first decreased by 10%. So 100, not rupees, just 100. So 90. So first it is decreased by 10%. So it is 90. Then later on, it is increased by 10%. Now this 10% increase is not on 100. it is on the new number. And this is the new number. Presently, this is the new number. So the increase is not on the original number. You can clearly see a number is first decreased by 10% and then is using the word then. That means the next increase of 10% is not on the original number, it is on the new number. And what is the new number? 90. And this is increased by 10%. And 10% of 90 is how much? 9. That means 90 becomes 99. Now you can see the new number is less than the original number. The new number is less than the original number by how much? By 1. Okay, the new number is 99 and original number is 100, and the new number is 1 less than the original number. Okay, so now we relate this data to the original data given. If difference is 1, if difference equal to 1, then what is the original number? Then original number is 100. You can clearly see it here. When the difference is 100 and 99, the difference is how much? 1. So when difference is 1, what is the original number? Original number is 100. But in the problem, the difference is clearly given as 50. It's clearly mentioned the new number is 50 less than the original number. That means the difference is 50. So I write, if difference is 50, if difference is 50, then what is the original number? This is the question. Now you can make the vertical comparisons. So this one is becoming 50. So the difference is becoming 50 times. So when the left side becomes 50 times, the right side will also become 50 times. And 50 times of 100 is 5000. So I can say the original number is 5000. And this is successive increase and decrease, or successive decrease and increase. First decrease and then increase. So we call it as successive decrease and increase model. First decrease and then immediately increased. Okay? Right. Now, the next question. Now we have already done a problem like this. Now we'll do one more question. If the price of a commodity is decreased by 20% and its consumption increased by 20%, what will be the increase or decrease in the expenditure on the commodity? So, price is decreased and therefore consumption increased by 20%. Then what will be the increase or decrease in the expenditure? So, same model. Suppose I assume the original price is 10 rupees per article and number of articles consumed, I take it as 10 articles. So, expenditure will be how much? 100 rupees. I assume the price of each article, some article. So, I assume the price of each article as 10 rupees. And how many articles are consumed every day? 10 articles are consumed. Then what is the expenditure? 10 into 10, 100. So I write here simply 10 into 10, 100. $10 into 10, 100. Now the price is decreased by 20%. So earlier the price was 10, now it is 8. Okay? And its consumption increased by 20%. Earlier consumption was 10 units, now it is 12 units because it is increased by 20%. Then what is the expenditure? 8 into 12. 8 into 12 is 96. So earlier the expenditure on the commodity was 100 rupees. Now the expenditure has come down to 96. So expenditure is not increasing, it is decreasing. And how much is the decrease? 4%. It's very clear. 100 is becoming 96. So that clearly reflects a decrease of 4%. Then we can say a 4% decrease. 4% decrease. Right? It's same like the previous model that we have done. Now, this is a little bit different. A little bit different from the previous two models that we have done on commodity and increase or decrease. Now, if the price of a commodity is increased by 50%, by what fraction must its consumption be reduced so as to keep the same expenditure on its consumption? So price is increased by 50%. Now when price increases, automatically expenditure also increases. Okay, when price increases, automatically expenditure also increases. But if you don't want expenditure to be increased, then there is only one way. And that way is to reduce the consumption. So the question here is, if you want expenditure to remain constant, then consumption should be decreased by what percentage? Price is increased by 50%, so consumption should be decreased by what percentage so that expenditure remains same? That is the question. Okay? Now, I tell you a very simple approach to solve this question. Now, price into consumption. Price into consumption will give you expenditure. Price into consumption will give you expenditure. Now, I want this expenditure to be same. I don't want this expenditure to change. I want this expenditure to be constant. That is what given. So as to keep the same expenditure. So I want this expenditure to be same. I don't want it to be changed. Then price is increased by 50%. Then consumption should be decreased by what percent? That is the question. Now, 50% can be written as 1/2 in fractions. Now, when price goes up by 1/2, then consumption should decrease by 1/3. Simple technique. See, 50% I am specifying in terms of fractions. So price is increasing by 50%. And 50% can be written as 1/2. So when price goes up by 1/2, when one factor of the product, price into constant, will give you price into consumption, will give you expenditure. Now, when one factor of the product goes up, then another factor of the product will decrease to keep the product constant. Okay, so when price goes up by 1/2, automatically consumption will decrease by 1/3, so that the expenditure remains same. So what is the question? By what fraction consumption be reduced? So I can say consumption be reduced by 1/3. Now I tell you one more. Suppose if the price increases, by 25%, 25% we know we can write it as 1/4. So when price increases by 25%, then consumption should be decreased by what? 1/5. Consumption should be decreased by 1/5. Okay, this 4 will be increasing by 1, 4 plus 1, 5. Here 2 plus 1, here 3. Now suppose if I say the price is increased by 20%, the price is increased by 20%, then by what percent the consumption be reduced to keep the expenditure same? If that is the question, now 20% can be written as 1/5. So price is increasing by 1/5. Then consumption should be reduced by 1/6. 5 plus 1, here you need to take 6. So this is the model here. So we can easily say if the price is increased by 1/2, then consumption is reduced by 1/3. So 1/3 the answer. Suppose if the question is asked, if the answer is asked in percentage, then 1/3 is nothing but 33 1/3%. 1/3 is nothing but 33 1/3%. In case the question, the answer is asked in percentage, so if the price is increased by 50%, then consumption should be decreased by 33 1/3%. That will be the answer. Suppose if the price is increased by 25%, then consumption should be decreased by 20%, because 1/5 is nothing but 20%. Then we can take the answer as 20%. If the price is increased by 20%, 1/5 is nothing but 20%. If the price is increased by 20%, then the consumption should be reduced by 1/6. 1/6 is nothing but 16 2/3%. Then we can take the answer as 16 2/3%. But in this problem, the answer is not asked in percentage, it is asked in fractions. So I can directly take 1/3 as the answer. Okay, and remember, this technique we have to use only when the product remains constant. Here, this product should remain constant. So when the product remains constant, when one factor goes up, other factor will go down. And if this goes up, then this will go down. Okay, it's like that. Next question. Next question. Nitin's salary was reduced by 10%. And then the reduced salary was increased by 10%. So first salary is reduced. After when salary is reduced, you get new salary. And that new salary is increased by 10%. Then his new salary in comparison with original salary is how much? That is the question. Okay, now here the original figures are not given. The data is given only in percentages. And remember friends, when original values are not given, when data is presented only in percentages, then we have to solve the problem by making assumptions because there is no other data available. Whatever data available is only in terms of percentage. So in such cases, we have to solve the problem by making assumptions. Okay, now here we go for assumptions. I assume the original salary is 100 rupees. I assume his original salary is 100 rupees. So first it is reduced by 10%. So 100 rupees has been made 90 rupees. First it is decreased by 10%. So 100 is made 90. After that, again it is increased by 10%. And the second time increase of 10% is not on 100, it is on 90. Because it's an example of successive decrease and increase. You can clearly see Nitin's salary was reduced by 10% and then he is using the word then, and then the reduced salary was increased by 10%. That means the 10% increase is not on the original salary, it is on the reduced salary. See here. And then the reduced salary was increased by 10%. Okay, so the 10% increase is not on 100, it is on 90. Now tell me 10% of 90 is how much? 10% of 90 is 9 rupees. That means this salary is increased by 9 rupees. So now it is 99 rupees. So this is the original salary and this is the new salary. And what is the question? What is the question? His new salary in comparison with original salary is. So his new salary when compared to original salary is more or less, it's clearly less. And less by what percent? 1%. This is 99 and this is 100. So new salary when compared to original is less by 1%. So the answer is 1% less. Okay? Right. Now let us go for the next question. This is also successive increase. A number is first increased by 10% and then it is further increased by 20%. Then the original number is increased altogether by, so what is the total increase percentage? First it is increased by 10% and later on it is further increased by 20%. So what is the total percentage increase? That is the question. And if your answer is 10% plus 20%, 30%, then it is wrong. Because friends, it is not a case of flat increase. It is a case of successive increase. First you increase a number by certain percentage. After that you get a new number. And that new number should be increased further. So it's a case of successive increase percentage. So you can't take the answer as 30%. Okay. Now, once again, I make the assumptions here because everything is given in percentage. The actual data, actual figures are not given. So we have to solve this problem by making assumptions. So let us assume the original income as 100 rupees. So first it is increased by 10%. So 100 is made 110 rupees. It is increased by 10%. So 100 made 110. And then it is further increased by 20%. That means the second increase of 20% is not on 100, it is on 110. Because clearly see, and then He is using the word then. So the second increase of 20% is not on this 100, it is on the new number. So this 20% increase should be on this. Now 20% of 110. Now what is 10% of 110? 10% of 110 is 11. When 10% is 11, 20% will be how much? 22. So 110 will become 132 rupees. Okay, you can calculate 20% of 110. 20% of 110 is 22 rupees. So first 100 is made 110, later on 110 is made 132. Okay, now you can clearly see we are starting with 100 and ending up with 132. Starting with 100, ending up with 132. So what is the total increase percentage? 32%. When 100 becomes 132, I can clearly say the total increase percentage is 32%. So answer is 32%. When 100 becomes 132, it clearly signals an increase of 32%. So here the answer is 32%. Okay, and if you want, I can give you a formula also here to find the answer for this. So first there is an increase of, see the formula is like this, x plus y plus xy by 100 percentage. Okay, first x is 10, then y is 20, then next 10 into 20, 200. 200 by 100 is 2%. So 10 plus 20 is 30, 30 plus 2 is 32%. This is the formula. Okay, right. Now let us look into the next question. Similar question. We have already done problems like this. A's salary is increased by 10% and then decreased by 10%. The change in salary is, so first the salary is increased by 10%. After that immediately it is decreased by 10%. Then the change in salary is, if you say there is no change, first it is increased by 10% and then decreased by 10%, so salary will remain same. If your answer is that, then you are wrong. Okay, so here 0% is also given. So some of you may take 0% as the answer, but that is very much wrong because this problem is successive increase and decrease model. Okay, so whenever we calculate percentages, we calculate these percentages on the new numbers, not on the original. Okay, right. Now, let us assume the original salary as A as 100 rupees. I assume the original salary of A as 100 rupees. Now, first it is increased by 10%. So, 100 becomes 110 rupees. 100 becomes 110 rupees because it is increased by 10%. And then decreased by 10%. So the second time we are decreasing the salary by 10% and the 10% decrease is not on 100, it is on the new salary. So the 10% decrease should be on 110. Now tell me 10% of 110 is how much? 10% of 110 is 11. So this 110 rupees is decreased by 11. 11 means it becomes 99 rupees. So we are starting with 100. And ending up with 99. And what is the question? The question is the change in salary is 1% less. So you can see 1% decrease. 100 becomes 99. When 100 becomes 99, when 100 becomes 99, it reflects 1% decrease. So we take the answer as 1% decrease. Right? This is the next question. When 75 is added to 75% of a number, the answer is the number itself. Here it should be itself, as the number itself. When 75 is added to 75% of a number, the answer is the number itself. Find 40% of that number. Find 40% of, so he's not asking the number, he's asking 40% of the number. Okay, now here 75 is added to 75% of the number. NO means number. So 75 is added to 75% of the number. Then what is the result? The result is number itself. The result is number itself. That means 100%. So this is 75%. 75 is added to 75%. Then you are getting 100%. What does that mean? It means this 75 is equal to 25%. This is already 75%. 75% plus this value is giving you 100% because it is clearly given the answer is the number itself. And the original number is always considered as 100%. So when 75% and this both are added, the result is 100%. So this is 75% and this should be 25%. And when you add both, we are getting 100%. So how can you say this is 25%? Because this is 75% and the result is 100%. And to get the result as 100%, automatically this has to be 25%. So I can clearly say the value 75 is nothing but equal to 25%. So this 75 is equal to 25%. Then what is the question? What is the 40% of that number? That is the question. So when 25% is equal to 75, 40% is equal to how much? You can do this. Very simple. 25% is equal to 75. When 25% is equal to 75, then we are asked to find what is 40% of that number. So 40% is equal to how much? Now, you can do horizontal comparison. Now, 25 is becoming 3 times. 25 is becoming 75. So, this is becoming 3 times. So, when this becomes 3 times, 40 will also become 3 times. And 3 times of 40 is how much? 120. Then I can say 40% of the number is 120. Okay? Suppose, instead of asking 40%, if you are asked to find the original number itself, what is the original number? If that is the question, then you can do like this. 25% is equal to 75, then 100% is how much? This is the question. Because you are asked to find what is the original number. So when 25% is equal to 75, 100% is equal to how much? That is the question. Now same horizontal comparison. 25 is becoming 75 3 times. So when this becomes 3 times, 100 will also become 3 times. And you can say the original number is 300. Original number is 300. Okay? I hope you understand how this 75 is equal to 25%. This is already 75% and the result is 100%. So if this is 75 here and this is 100 here, then automatically this one should be equal to 25%. So, and therefore, I make this 75 equal to 25%. Okay? Right. Now, the next question. The next question. A number exceeds 20% of itself by 40. What is the number? So, a number exceeds means more. A number is more than 20% of itself by how much? 40. What is the number? That is the question. Now, I told you original number is always taken as 100%. So, original number is 100%. And that 100% exceeds 20%. So, this is original number. And it is more than 20%. By how much? So, what is the difference between 100% and 20%? The difference between 100% and 20% is 80%. 80%. But in the problem, it is clearly given a number exceeds 20% by how much? 40. So, if you look at the difference between 100% and 20%, the difference is 80%. But if you look at the difference in terms of actual value, the difference is clearly given as 40. That means 80% is equal to 40. So difference in terms of percentage is 80. Difference in terms of actual value is 40. Then what is the number? That is the question. Number means original number is always considered as 100%. So this is 100%. How much? Now make the horizontal comparison. This 80 is becoming half. When 80 becomes half, 100 will also become half, and half of 100 is 50. Then I can say the original number is 50. Okay, right. Now, the next question. If 120% of A is equal to 80% of B, then B plus A by B minus A is equal to. Okay. Now, 120% of A is equal to 80% of B. 80% of B. Okay, then a percentage on the left side, percentage on the right side will get cancelled. So I can write 120A equal to 80B, then A by B equal to 80 by 120. Don't think that 120% of A can be written as 120A. So this is just comparison. So 120% means 120 by 100. 80% means 80 by 100. So 100 on the left side, 100 on the right side gets cancelled. So therefore I'm writing 120A equal to 80B. Now A by B equal to 80 by 120 or 2 by 3. It means the ratio of A and B. The ratio of A and B is 2:3. That is the question. Now what is the question? Then B plus A by B minus A is equal to, okay, B plus A by B minus A is equal to how much? That is the question. So B plus A means you can take 3 plus 2. By B minus A means you can take 3 minus 2. Okay, B plus A you can take 3 plus 2. B minus A you can take 3 minus 2. So this is 5 and this is 1. So 5 by 1. So I can say B plus A by B minus A is equal to 5. So I can take this answer as 5. Come on, let us look into the next question. The next question. The population of women in a village is 90% of population of men. What is the population of men as a percentage of population of women? Now, in this problem, once again, the data is given only in percentages. The actual values are nowhere given. So, we have to solve this problem by making assumptions. Now, what is the first statement given? Population of women is 90% of population of men. So, unless you know the population of men, you cannot write population of women. So, I start with assuming the population of men. So, let number of men equal to 100. Let men equal to 100. Men means number of men. So, you have to understand. So, let men equal to 100. Then women would be 90% of men. That means 90% of 100. I write here. 90% of 100. That is 90. So, if you assume men as 100, then women would be 90. Then what is the question? Population of men as a percentage of women. Population of men as a percentage of women. That means population of men is 100. So 100 as a percentage of 90. How much? This is the question. That means 100 is what percentage of 90? So 100 by 90 into 100. Okay, so this will get cancelled. So you will get 111, 1 by 9%. So you can approximately take 111%. You can approximately take 111%. Okay, the question is population of men as a percentage of women. Population of men is 100. Population of women is 90. So 100 is what percentage of 90? That is the question. So 100 by 90, and to convert any fraction into percentage, we have to multiply the fraction with 100, so into 100. So that gives you 111, 1 by 9%. So that's the answer. Okay? Right. Now, let us look into the next question. A's salary is 40% of B's salary. and B's salary is 25% of C's salary. What percentage of C's salary is A's salary? So once again, everything is given in terms of percentage. So we have to go by assumptions. Now A's salary depends on B's salary because it's clearly given A's salary is 40% of B's salary. And B's salary is depending on C's salary because it's given B's salary is 25% of C's salary. So A depends on B and B depends on C. So we have to start this problem by assuming C's salary. So let C equal to 100 rupees. Let C equal to rupees 100. This is my assumption. Then B's salary is 25% of C's salary. So if C is 100, then B must be how much? B must be 25 rupees. B must be 25 rupees. Then A's salary is 40% of B's salary. So A's salary is 40% of B. So if B is 25, A is how much? 40% of 25. And 40% of 25 is how much? Rupees 10. So if you assume C's salary is 100, then B's salary will become 25 and A's salary will become 10. And what is the question? Then what percentage of C's salary is A's salary? So A's salary when compared to C's salary is what percentage? That is the question. That means 10 is what percentage of 100? A's salary is 10. C's salary is 100. And the question is A's salary what percentage of C? That means 10 is what percentage of 100? And 10 is what percentage of 100? 10%. So A is 10% of C. A is 10% of C. That is the answer. That means A's salary is 10% of C's salary. That is the answer. So here we take the answer as 10%. Okay. Now let us look into the last question for the day. Now this is the last question for the day. If A exceeds B by 60%, and B is less than C by 20%, then A is to C. Same as the previous question. Okay, A depends on B and B depends on C. Then what is A is to C? Okay, so once again we start the problem by assuming the value of C. Okay, C, let C equal to 100 rupees. Let C equal to 100. Let C equal to 100. Okay, then B is less than C by 20%. So if you take C as 100, then B should be 80. Then B must be 80 because it is clearly given B is 20% less than C. So if you take C as 100, then B would be 80 rupees. Then A exceeds B by 60%. That means A is 60, exceeds means more. A is 60% more than B, that is given. So A is 60% more than B. That means 80 plus 60% of 80. This is the 80. 60% of 80 is how much? 48. So 80 plus 48 is how much? 128. So 128. So if you take A as 100, if you take A as 100, C as 100, C as 100, then B will become 80 and A is 60% more than B. That means 80 plus 60% of 80, it will come to 128. And what is the question? Then A is to C. So A is to C. A is to C is 128 is to 100 or 432 times 425 times. Then I can say it is 32 is to 25. So 32 is to 25. Right? So I hope this session has helped you to understand the basics of percentage and what type of questions are expected and how to handle them. Okay? Thank you very much for your cooperation.